Scientific research is an ever-accelerating process, yet it moves only as fast as it's communicated and can only be trusted if peer-reviewed thoroughly. Research and policy institutions have come to rely on peer-reviewed literature, and they therefore cannot simply abandon that system. Now, for a researcher, it has become necessary to publish in prestigious journals to be hired, promoted, and funded. In that way, science has become dependent on publishing. Thanks to this dependence, some journals enrich themselves from public funds. Therefore, criticism towards those journals often focuses on the high profit margins and the high cost of publishing they keep. I build PaperStacks because I understand that the problem is not only the cost. In my view, the central problem in scientific publishing is that journals mismanage the peer review process. Researchers pay to publish and read their own papers because journals generate profit by monetizing their work. At the same time, journals ask expert researchers to work for free as reviewers. So even researchers that go above and beyond by reviewing the work of their peers do not receive any of the profits. Often, lack of funds in the system will be used as an excuse to explain why reviewers are not rewarded. Whatever the case, the lack of incentives in the current publishing system leads experts to review slowly and frankly often provide feedback of poor quality. Furthermore, journal editors gatekeep by deciding what gets peer-reviewed and what gets published. Their gatekeeping further slows down the communication of new discoveries. Overall, the intermediation of journals, although valuable, is not only expensive, but it's unacceptably slow. Bad and slow peer review causes damage to the scientific effort at a systemic level. That is a cost of immeasurable proportions, not only to science, but to all of society. PaperStack is here to change that with a new paradigm of academic publishing. The focus of PaperStack is to offer free, good, and fast peer review to everyone. That includes both the researchers and the journals. This is how it works. First, researchers come to PaperStack and have their paper peer-reviewed. Authors can then submit these peer-reviewed papers to journals. Journal editors receiving these submissions come to PaperStack and can read both the paper and the peer review process. However, journals must pay to access information not visible to the paper author, including the verified identity of the reviewers. The result is that journals can directly choose what to publish instead of what to peer review and maybe publish. Although journals find this change difficult to accept, it allows them substantial savings, and they therefore consider it. In essence, this is no different than the commissions that some journals already pay to access promising papers that other journals decided not to publish after having peer-reviewed them. PaperStack makes the relationship between researchers and journals fair. To better understand this, it is important to note that often researchers must apply to only one journal at a time. Therefore, their incentive is to apply to the most prestigious journal possible, as it may greatly benefit their career if they get published there. If their paper is declined either before or during the peer review process, they start the process again in a slightly less prestigious journal. They repeat this cycle until eventually their paper gets accepted and published somewhere. This behavior is well known to publishing houses who refer to it as waterfall. Compare this waterfall publishing tactic to having your paper peer-reviewed always on PaperStack, and then applying to multiple journals simultaneously and waiting for all of them to answer before making a publication choice. This improves the power dynamic in favor of researchers and decreases the average time to publication of all papers. This is regardless of the journal in which they are eventually published. This gain of power is what motivates researchers to come to the PaperStack platform to have their new research peer-reviewed. Editors stress that finding and convincing experts to review is the hardest part of the peer review process. And that is just the start, because after sourcing those reviewers, editors must still manage them. This is where PaperStack innovates in two major ways. The first innovation of PaperStack is its token economy that motivates researchers to review to the best of their abilities. On PaperStack, reviewing earns tokens, and having your paper reviewed costs tokens. Therefore, there is never a lack of reviewers on the platform, as the market of reviewers and authors balances itself. Unlike previous attempts at paying real money for reviews, I recognize that monetary incentives can cause a lot of problems. On the other hand, if the only thing that PaperStack tokens are good for is hiring reviewers, it is much easier to keep all the bad actors out. The second innovation is not using editors to find reviewers. Instead, PaperStack has an algorithmic feed. Just like social media can learn what celebrities you want to see, PaperStack finds the papers you can and want to review. When you have time, you go to PaperStack and scroll until you find a paper you would have eventually read anyway. You can choose to join the peer review team for that paper, but you must review it within given deadlines. If your reviews are constructively critical and in-depth, over time, you can build a strong reputation and earn more tokens. In turn, this lets you hire effective reviewers for your papers. In other words, this token economy ensures that good reviewers don't have to suffer the struggle of having their papers reviewed in lazy, superficial ways. Overall, this innovative peer review system does not rely on editorial oversight. Instead, PaperStack relies on well-aligned incentives in which a researcher benefits the most by offering other researchers critically constructive and in-depth reviews within fast deadlines. To know more about the peer review process on PaperStack, you can go to our help page at paperstack.pub/help, where you will find more information about the platform and how to use it. Not all researchers want to publish their work on prestigious journals. For researchers that come to PaperStack for the unparalleled peer review experience, we offer free and instant publishing on our library. There, the entire peer review process will be available to read side by side with their paper. Although I support Diamond Open Access publishing, in my view, it is the author who owns their paper. Therefore, on PaperStack, they have the freedom to choose how their paper is peer-reviewed, published, and if they choose so, monetized. So here, researchers can paywall their work and help finance their continued research. With PaperStack, research publishing has the tools to evolve beyond antiquated peer review models and can move to a fast, equitable, transparent, free paradigm of publishing. I built PaperStack because I dream that in the near future, bad and slow peer review will be a nightmare of the past. In this future, most papers will be free to read for everyone, and great research institutions will not be paying for publishing, but rather profit from it. Let's build this dream together on paperstack.pub.